Do you see the list of the tariff? He just
Yeah.
Well, I've only seen the UK. I've been quite detached from it all.
Yeah,
recently,
the UK is
but
just 10%, so he's
we got
increased
off lightly.
tariffs from China.
Did Nigeria get tariffs?
Yeah, 14%.
Wow.
What was it? Sorry,
14.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Nigeria got away lightly.
Yeah.
But
South
what did you
Africa
think?
30%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he pulled out this big board and
Yeah,
China,
exactly. And then
He
China
loves-
yeah,
he loves the
34%.
performance.
It's just absurd. Like,
Yeah.
But I was wondering because he said, this is retaliation, but he calls it kind retaliation. He says he's looking at the tariffs that they're putting on America, and he's putting half. And he was saying tariffs and also adjusted currency. And I was thinking, how do we check this? Because they're saying 67%
67%,
China.
Yeah.
But who's checking these figures?
So what he did was he looked at the deficit between the US and China, right? The trade deficit between the US and China, and picked the deficit, trade deficit between US, what US exports and imports from China. He picked the deficit and divided it by US imports from China. So it's almost like the trade gap between US and China is what he used to define the tariffs. And then when he did that, he got 67%, and then he divided it by 2, so 34% or thereabout. That's what was allocated to China, which is a very, I don't know if I can say this, ridiculous way of implementing tariffs. Like, how do you, and first of all, on the other side where you saw he said China's tariff on US goods is somewhere around 6-7%. And then he said something about currency manipulation. So subjective. Like, there is no real way of measuring this in terms of how does this really work. And mind you, what happens to a country where you have a trade surplus with? They still also got a tariff. The UK, 10%.
And the UK didn't get half. They got the same amount, 10%, 10%.
Yeah, 10%, the baseline 10%. And then the real problem is, I don't know the thinking behind some of this. And you can never, there's no country in the world that you can't have trade surplus with all your trade partners. It's not possible. You would certainly have cases where you export more, you import more from different countries. It doesn't have to be, I want surplus, and then you do the math, and then you calculate, if I raise tariff, I'm going to get XYZ billion dollars to fund deficit. Is that all?
Yeah.
It's just a lot of things are missing. I think that rigorous thinking is missing in all of this process.